2 is sponsored by Peter Schmidt, who has the following message: Happy buzzing.
That's scary. Do you want to sponsor a round?
It is $100 a round.
Jesus Christ. See, that's not too bad.
You should tell us, like, you should make it test like a Riverdale's reference.
High school is free today.
I think they
I heard that for free every week.
Yeah,
What?
well, not all the time.
The difference is you have to pay $100 to force high schoolers to listen to you say free to bed.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, okay, so it's $100 to sponsor a round. Natalia, it's $100 to sponsor a round. I don't think you'll be able to do it.
Wait.
I'm at the days of tutoring infidels.
Yeah,
That's so
okay,
scary.
are we all ready to go here?
I'm never ready.
Okay.
Let's do this.
All right. If you can turn off all phones, electronic devices, things of that
Oh, yes,
nature.
we wouldn't want any Scott Blish incidents.
All right. Good luck to both teams.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Toss up 1. Artists from this modern-day country mass-produce artworks dubbed Matinari that inspired a Giovanni Bellini painting of a baby Christ with a golden apple. A shadow painter from this country prefigured Italian chiaroscuro with his dark shading. An artist born in this modern-day country may have inspired the layout of La Demoiselle d'Avignon with a painting depicting flail. 15. Sorry, 20, whatever, power.
Could you be a bit louder, please?
Louder? Yeah, sure. Alan Garner argued that this person's suicide by biting into an apple laced with cyanide was inspired by Snow White, for 10 points each. Name this person who pleaded guilty to indecency charges in 1952. A 2017 law named for this person pardoned those prosecuted for homosexuality in Britain.
Yeah.
That's correct. The Wolfenden Committee first suggested decriminalizing homosexuality after the 1954 arrest of a member of this family. A much earlier woman who married into this family recorded how Turkish women opened blisters on each other.
Oh, like maybe I can get like something very
That's Montague. The largest LGBTQ plus rights organization in Britain is named after this New York gay bar, where a series of 1969 riots launched the U.S.'s gay rights movement. 20 points. Toss up 2. It's not a rifle, but a Winchester object resembling this other object was used for one of the costume jousting events named for it in Europe. A violent Yuletide quarrel led a Cornishman to create this portable object, over which loyalty oaths were sworn during the Feast of Pentecost. This object is engraved with golden names by an archbishop's blessing. A white deer is chased around this object by a hound during a royal wedding. Judas's betrayal is memorialized through this object's Siege Perilous, which is claimed by Galahad before the start of the Grail quest. Leo de Grant's gift of this object, whose shape symbolized the equality of art.
The round table.
It sure is.
Oh.
In a novel from this country, Bentu exiles his wife and son to Europe after suspecting that his wife cheated on him, for 10 points each. Name this country that is the setting of Dom Casmurro, a posthumous memoir from this country that documents Bras Cubas' obsession over a poultice.
Brazil.
That's correct. Dom Casmurro frequently draws parallels to this tragic Shakespeare character who is fooled by Iago into suspecting Desdemona of infidelity. That's correct. Joanna meditates on her indifference to her husband cheating on her in Near to the Wild Heart, the debut novel by this Ukrainian-born Brazilian author of The Passion According to G.H.
It's not the Spectre. Someone else.
Answer?
The Spectre.
It is. 30 points. Toss up 3. In 2023, the International African American Museum opened in this state's Gadsden's Wharf. After his legislature closed his school, Daniel Payne left this state and joined the AME Church. In this state, a group of mainly Congolese slaves chanted liberty while being led by Cato, the largest British colonial slave revolt. A failed slave revolt on Bastille Day in this state was planned by a man who purchased his freedom with his lottery winnings, Denmark Vesey. The Stono Rebellion occurred in this state. In the
Virginia?
Incorrect, no penalty. In the antebellum period, this state had the largest population of black to white residents due to its rice and indigo plantations. For 10 points, name this state, which had slave markets in Charleston. That's correct. That was Johnny on this side, and it's Gregory over here. Oops. Your bonus. The drying up of this body of water has significantly affected the economy of the autonomous region of Karakalpakstan. Sure. Cultivation of this crop is the main industry in Karakalpakstan. Carl Linnaeus named the Gossypium barbadense, or sea island variety of this crop, because it was originally found in Barbados. More recently, farmers in Karakalpakstan have taken to growing this crop, which grows well in salted soil. This crop's mucokinetic effects are why the plurality of Icelandic candy contains it as an ingredient. 30 points. Also 4. In a blank verse epic by this author, some of the 99 suitors encounter the Ogre of Endless Tears while questing to find a cure for Warajia's disability. After dropping out of the University of Leeds, this author wrote a novel centered around the proverb, "That which bites you is your own clothing." That novel by this author centers on a character who is reluctant to give a speech because of his guilt from betraying Kihika. A different novel by this author concludes with the teacher Munaira burning down a brothel in Il Morag. This author explains his decision to stop writing in English in the essay
Ngui Wathiongo.
10. Oxygen gas was rare during a period known as the Boring this many years. For 10 points each, give this number of years noted GA or Giga Annum.
Giga Annum? Is it like 1,000 or something? Maybe like 10,000. Yeah, 10.
Answer?
10,000.
That is 1 billion years. In the Canfield Ocean model, the deep ocean has this property due to the lack of oxygen gas during the Boring billion. Water that is anoxic and sulfidic has this property, whose name derives from the Greek for hospitality.
Oh, frick.
Answer?
Yes.
It is eusinic. Eusinic conditions would have to persist up to this layer in a Canfield Ocean in order to support necessary anoxygenic production. This upper layer of the ocean is typically conflated with the epipelagic zone.
Sunlight zone?
Yeah.
Sunlight zone?
What's its scientific name? That's time.
Helio.
It is a photic zone. No points, toss up 5. The 2023 discovery of these proteins' N-terminal helix-loop motif in Delavibrio finally confirmed that bacteria make them. Post-translational marks on these proteins like K9ME3 are detected by ChIP-seq. Unless they are amidated, these proteins provide the attractive electrostatic potential that holds together the 30 nanometer fiber. Lysines are alternatively acetylated and deacetylated in the code of these proteins during genomic imprinting. The tails of these proteins are rich in basic amino acids that neutralize the negative charge of a sugar phosphate backbone. These proteins form octamers at the core of a nucleosome.
Histones?
That's 10. Joseph Lada made over 600 illustrations for stories about this character, for 10 points each. Name this good character, who steals a dog from a colonel after being told to find a dog for a lieutenant. This character is almost executed by General Fink von Finkelstein.
Oh, William Tell, I don't know. Sure. William Tell?
That's The Good Soldier's Fake. Yaroslav Hašek's novel, The Good Soldier's Fake, was written in this non-French language, as was Milan Kundera's The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Oh, yeah, check.
After Hašek's death, this author wrote a play in which Fake meets Hitler. This author wrote the libretto for Rise and Fall of the City of Mahogany and outlined the distancing effect in his theory of epic theater.
What? I don't know.
Answer? It's Bertolt Brecht. 10 points, toss up 6. A refugee from this government known as Queen Monique set off a craze for wearing pink in China. Because this government destroyed almost all cameras, the 2013 documentary The Missing Picture used stop-motion animation. The first man charged by the extraordinary chambers in the courts for actions taken during this government's reign was Comrade Duick. After declaring a year zero, that is just after power.
Oh, year 0.
Answer the following about references to Exodus chapter 34, verse 6, in which God reveals his name and the merciful aspect of his character to Moses for 10 points each. God quotes the Exodus verse in asking Judah to repent in the wake of invading locusts in chapter 2 of this book. Sequentially, this is the second minor prophet book in most Bibles.
Joel?
Say again?
Joel?
Yes. Levites invoke the Exodus verse in Nehemiah chapter 9 during a prayer of corporate repentance after rebuilding the walls of this sacred capital of Judah. King Hezekiah references the Exodus verse in 2 Chronicles when reinstituting this holiday, which commemorates a time when the angel of death avoided doors marked with lamb's blood.
Passover.
30 points. Color 7. In an essay about this short story, George Saunders compares its awkward narrator to Dwight Schrute to explain the Skaz tradition. This story ends by observing that such things happen in this world, rarely, but they do. In this story, a man writes a letter accusing Madame Potocina of cursing him because he won't marry her daughter. In this story, a man wanders around St. Isaac's Bridge trying to dispose of this story's title object, which he... That's 10. This character has been played by men and women like Andre de Shields and Lilius White, for 10 points each. Name this narrator of a 2019 musical by Anais Mitchell. This character introduces characters like Orpheus and Eurydice in the opening number Road to Hell. It's Hermes. This musical gender-neutral role of the leading player has been played by Ben Vereen and Bettina Miller. The title character of this 1972 Stephen Schwartz musical sings Corner of the Sky. That's Pippin. Not related to the first part of the bonus. In 2018, this composer and lyricist worked with director Marianne Elliott to gender swap his musical Company. He also wrote Into the Woods and Sweeney Todd.
It's not him. It's not him. It's not him.
10 points. Pippin, of course, Tom Holland's rise to stardom. Toss of 8. In 2022, police seize a weapons cache in this province's village of Coots from protesters who had shut down a border crossing. John Valiant's 2023 book Fireweather details how residents of man camps in this province reacted to the YMM fire. This province explored Wexit under the leadership of Jason Kenney. Kate Beaton's memoir Ducks chronicled maritime migrants who took jobs working in this province's boomtown of Fort McMurray. This province sparred with a western neighbor over an expansion to the Trans Mountain Pipeline, a project that services this province's Athabasca oil sands. 10. Description acceptable. This quantity can vary between 2 and 3 across cells in the human body after a digenic or dispermic fertilization. For 10 points each, give either the 6-letter name or a description of this quantity, which is 3 for cells in the endosperm and alternates between 1 and 2 in the generations of an angiosperm. Answer? That's ploidy.
Oh.
Regardless of ploidy, the total chromosome count in any human cell should be multiples of what odd integer the haploid chromosome count. 69 chromosome zygotes immediately split into diploid and triploid lineages in these cells, the first product of zygotic cleavage. They divide to form the morula.
Oh, like it's, yeah, it could be.
Embryonic.
These are blastomeres. 10 points, toss up 9. A combined form of this quantity equals 1/2 for phase space quadratures. States with a value for this quantity below that of the ground state have elliptical phase space distribution that appears squeezed. A bound on a combined form of this quantity equals 1/2 times the norm of the expectation value of a commutator of 2 operators. This quantity for an operator equals the square root of the difference between its expectation value squared and the square of its expectation value. Because the product of this quantity for x and p is bounded below by h bar over 2, one can never simultaneously know the position and momentum.
Oh, the parity.
That's incorrect. One can never simultaneously know the position and momentum of a particle. Would have points in this quantity described in a principle derived by Heisenberg.
Uncertainty.
Yes, that is correct. Your bonus. Ethnomycologists study how ancient Greeks may have mixed these organisms into Kikion during the Eleusinian mysteries. For 10 points each, name these capped spore-bearing organisms called food of the gods by ancient Egyptians.
Mushrooms? I don't know. Mushrooms.
That's right. Mushrooms may have killed the Roman Emperor Jovian while campaigning against this empire. Shapur II ruled this major enemy of 3rd century Rome.
Sassanid Empire.
That's right. The crackpot historian and ethnomycologist John M. Allegro was fired from Manchester University for writing a book titled For the Sacred Mushroom and One of These Objects. Heraclius recovered one of these objects after it was taken during a 614 CE raid by Khosrau II.
It's a Jerusalem Christian, but
Temple?
no, the object.
Answer?
Cross.
That is the cross, because you do not get that answer. So that's 20 on the bonus. That was not directed towards me.
Oh, I did check.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if anyone else. I didn't.
She said crossing.
Okay, sure. We'll take that then. That's fine. Look like you're facing your teammates, but that's okay. Toss up 10. This film features split-second flashes of a makeup test for its lead actress with a pale face and red eyes. A scene in this film of a...
Oh, the Black Swan?
That's incorrect. A scene in this film of a woman walking home is set to Mike Oldfield's song Tubular Bells. The painting Empire of Light inspired a scene in this film in which a character played by Max von Sydow is illuminated under a streetlight. The author of this film's source novel, William Blatty, chose director William Friedkin. In this film's finale, Damien throws himself out a window and down a flight of stairs to his death. Priests in this film chant, "The power of Christ compels you" at Pazuzu. A spear tooth spins Reagan's head backwards. For 10 points, name this 1973 film about a girl possessed by a demon.
Exorcist.
That's 10.
Nice.
Sorry, guys.
Diodorus Siculus relates a reinterpretation of this figure as a powerful shepherd who guards a flock of golden fleeced sheep. For 10 points each, name this 100-headed beast represented by the constellation Draco. Vase paintings tend to depict this unsleeping beast coiled around an apple tree.
No, oh, it's the serpent. I think so. The serpent?
That is Ladon.
Oh.
Ladon guards the immortality-granting golden apples in this garden, whose eponymous daughters of Atlas are the source of the sunset's golden light.
Hesperides.
Yes. Ladon's still twitching corpse is later encountered by this band of adventurers led by Jason.
Argonauts.
20 points. That is the half. At the half, I have a score of Belmont 230, Lightridge 70. Toss up 11. A character created by this author has a conversation with Cordelia while painting a house about to be demolished. In a novel by this author, a woman exclaims, "Thank God," after learning that her son died from falling off the horse Thunderclap. One of this author's characters, who becomes a missionary in a Tunisian monastery after the death of Kurt, carries around the teddy bear Aloysius.
Whoa.
That is the word after power.
Who was it?
Evelyn Waugh, but that's a fine pronunciation. This philosopher praised a useless tree that survives because it is too old and gnarled to be cut down for timber. For 10 points each. Name this 4th century BCE Chinese philosopher who questioned whether he was a man dreaming of being a butterfly or vice versa.
Zhuangzi.
Zhuangzi was a member of this school of thought, which emphasizes effortless action called Wu Wei and was legendarily founded by Lao Tzu.
Taoism.
Zhuangzi's discussion of people like Shu the Discombobulated has led scholars like Helen de Cruz to read him as a philosopher of this concept. Rosemary Garland Thompson pioneered feminist approaches to this concept, which is decentered by using people-first language.
Oh, what? History?
Sure.
History?
That's disability.
People first.
Disability?
Oh,
Disability.
okay. Yeah,
Bonus, give me 1 second. It's not a- Okay. Toss up 12. In this piece's romantic third movement, the clarinet and flute play rising and falling 26 and 32 note tuplets. This piece opens with a low brass playing a stern fortissimo theme starting with the notes E down to B, D, that is later tamed by the other main theme. Cellos play wide arpeggios to emulate rocking waves in this piece's last movement, which depicts a festival and shipwreck. The harp accompanies a sinuous triplet-based high violin solo and a theme representing this piece's title character. For 10 points, the young prince and the young princess, and the sea and Sinbad's ship.
Scheherazade.
That's 10. I always expect red to be on my left, and it's not. It's very weird. That was intro. A 1946 Ted Brown adaptation of this play with an all-black cast had to remove lesbian undertones for the Federal Theater Project. For 10 points each, name this play in which a woman pledges to not crouch like a lioness on a cheese grater in an oath over a Thasian wine jug.
Oh, right, Lysistrata? Yeah. Lysistrata?
The all-black voodoo Macbeth was put on by this founder of the Mercury Theater, who also directed the controversial pro-labor musical The Cradle Will Rock.
I don't know.
No answer.
Better known for other stuff, that is Orson Welles. This lesbian author pioneered black actors in mainstream Broadway roles with a cast including Sidney Poitier and Ruby Dee for her play A Raisin in the Sun.
Oh, Lauren Hansberry.
20 on the bonus. Toss up 13. Conflict with JADEC standards for this hardware component caused a company co-founded by Mark Horowitz to sue many of its competitors before losing market dominance in the aughts. This component can be composed of a grid of word lines and bit lines connected to sense amplifiers. A DIM holds 2 instances of this component.
RAM.
That's 20 points.
Nice.
The artist Cecilia Vicuña often hangs artworks named for these objects from ceilings for 10 points each. Excuse me. Name these objects that were used for record keeping and other purposes by the Inca.
Oh, Kipu.
Prior to the Inca, quipu were used by a kingdom often named for this city. The Inca themselves made this Andean city their capital.
Cusco.
The Inca used quipu to keep track of the stock of this foodstuff. Along with dried meat known as charqui, the Inca kept reserves of these freeze-dried potatoes in case of famines.
Chuño.
That's 30 points.
Good.
Very nice.
They're really good.
How's a 14? This type of event Hold on, this pronunciation guidance. Okay, sure. This type of event allows the Pandas to update the Vahis, the world's largest collection of family trees. The 12 Jyotirlinga act as centers for this activity, a designation shared by Badranath, Dvarka, and the other 2 Chardham designated for this activity by Adi Shankara. The revolution of Jupiter every 12 years coincides with 4 of these events.
Pilgrimages.
That is 20 points.
Oh.
I
Kamela.
think every pronunciation guide of that question was incorrect. BT knows.
Fist.
A German artist with this first name depicted a woman stepping out of the stomach of a wolf in her sculpture Rapture, for 10 points each. Give this first name, which appeared with de Montparnasse in the stage name of a model who had violin holes painted on her back for photographs by Man Ray.
Ingra?
Oh,
Ingra.
Say again?
Ingra.
That's Kiki.
What?
Kiki Smith created a silicone bronze sculpture of this woman with flayed skin and dragging a chain. Donatello created a realist sculpture of this penitent woman made of wood.
Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
Mary Magdalene.
That's right. Another Man Ray photo of Kiki de Montparnasse shows her playing with some of these African artworks whose abstract features and elongated proportions inspired Cubist artists.
Masks.
20 points. Toss up 15. The 15 proven companions of this battle's victor are the only people known to have fought for its winning side. The night before this battle, the losing side camped on Caldbeck Hill near a hoar apple tree before moving to Senlac Hill the next.
Hastings.
That is 20 points.
Yeah.
Theodore Wolff found initial evidence for these particles with an electrometer atop the Eiffel Tower. For 10 points each. Name these astral particles that reach Earth at near light speeds. Victor Hess ascended 3 miles in a balloon to discover these cosmic particles.
Sure. Cosmic rays.
C.T.R. Wilson's research atop Ben Nevis inspired his invention of these particle detectors in which charged particles leave paths as they move through supersaturated vapor.
Synchrophasotron. That's a particle
Answer?
accelerator. Synchrophasotron.
These are cloud chambers. Cesar Lata's placement of emulsion plates atop Chakaltaya was key in the discovery of these lightest hadrons. Charged examples of these mesons typically decay into a muon and a muon neutrino.
Ion.
Pion.
Sure. I don't know. Ion.
I heard you think which is your answer?
Ion.
That's right.
Nice. Good one.
Toss up 16. That's 20 on the bus. This object is described as a red hell whose plunge into that blackness is called the material counterpart of a man's monomaniac soul. This object is lined with teeth and has...
Captain Ahab's prosthetic leg.
Incorrect. This object is lined with teeth and has small holes in its floor so that one character can maneuver it comfortably. This object, which is owned by Bildad and Peleg, has a gold coin from Quito nailed into it by a character with a lightning-shaped scar on his face. This vessel encounters a similar one named the Rachel. In a prophecy told by Fadala, this vessel is a hearse made from American wood. A character uses a coffin carved by a Polynesian harpooner named Queequeg to survive this ship's destruction. For 10 points, name this whaling ship from Moby Dick.
The Pequod.
That's right. A union of people in this profession backed Ronald Reagan in the 1980 presidential election and received the most generous contract ever offered to a government employee union. For 10 points each, name this profession, whose workers nevertheless staged the 1981 Patco strike where many were fired.
Air traffic controllers.
Barbara Koppel's film American Dream chronicles another Reagan-era strike of workers at a Spam factory for Hormel Foods in this state, whose picketers included this state's future Senator Paul Wellstone.
Paul Wells. Where would Hormel be?
Wisconsin.
Answer?
Okay, Wisconsin.
Close. It's Minnesota. In 1988, writers in this industry went on strike. Reagan himself led SAG, a guild of workers in this industry during the Blacklist era.
Actors.
Prompt?
Film.
Yes, that's what I want. 20 points. Plus up 17. This quantity appears in both the numerator and the denominator in the usual definition of the Lerner index. Unlike the Cournot model, this quantity is explicitly chosen in the Bertrand model. The Slutsky equation takes the...
Demand.
That is incorrect. The Slutsky equation takes the derivative with respect to this quantity of the Marshallian demand, giving terms corresponding to the income and substitution effects. Menu costs primarily contribute to this quantity's stickiness. Firms in perfect competition are described as takers of this quantity. Government-imposed floors on this quantity can result in surpluses if they are above this quantity's equilibrium value. For 10 points, supply and demand curves plot quantity sold against what quantity measured in dollars.
Price.
Yes. Plot quantity against quantity is a little strange there. One poem describes a person from this place whose grandmother was a warlock and had a cat named Flo, and suggests that he was unjustly blamed. For 10 points each, name this place. The origin of a person who supposedly interrupted a poet while he was on opium, causing one poem that mentions a stately pleasure dome to be only 54 lines long.
Porlock.
This author was allegedly interrupted by the person from Porlock while writing Kubla Khan.
Coleridge.
A poet with this last name implores, "I am hungry to be interrupted" in Thoughts About the Person from Porlock. Another author with this last name described a character who meets Clara Bowden after failing to gas himself in a car.
Gas himself in a car.
Answer?
YSL.
That is Smith. 20 points, toss up 18. A student loan system established in Oxford in 1240 relied on one of these objects named for St. Friedesweide. The Lane Company gave Hope versions of these objects to girls graduating high school. Renaissance brides were given a type of these objects called a cassone, one of which can be seen in the Venus of Urbino. They're not skeletons, but one of these physical objects is found after Legrand realizes that an old man dropped the title insect through the wrong eye socket in Edgar Allan Poe's The Gold Bug. Another of these objects, owned by Captain Flint, is sought by Hispaniola cabin boy Jim Hawkins. For 10 points, name these objects, one of which is buried on an island in a Robert...
Treasure chest?
Yeah.
Oh,
Suffragette Nellie McClung lectured on a type of madness that afflicted people living in isolation in this general location. For 10 points each. Name this flat location once called the Great American Desert.
The Great Plains.
Nebraska and the Dakota are generally included within this location.
The Great Plains.
An author of this ethnicity addressed prairie madness in his novel Giants in the Earth. The 1970 Nobel Peace Prize was won by a man of this ethnicity called the father of the Green Revolution.
Oh, was it Swedish?
Borlaug.
Or was it Swedish?
Swedish.
Swedish?
Answer? He's Norwegian.
Ah.
Prairie madness was one reason that many people failed to complete a 5-year residency requirement of this legislation. This 1862 law attracted black exodusters to Kansas.
Oh, wait. Homestead Act?
Yes.
That's good.
Toss up 19. During hydrotreatment, this element is removed from hydrocarbons using Rani nickel, which allows refineries to reform naphtha fuels. Gypsum is made by scrubbing oxides of this element out of flue gas. Oxides of this element are injected into the stratosphere to form aerosols in a solar geoengineering strategy inspired by volcanic winters. This non-metal is at the octahedral center of the most potent greenhouse gas. On Earth,
Chlorine?
that's incorrect.
Oh.
On Earth, this element's oxidation state cycles between -2 in minerals like galena and pyrite up to +6 after it's oxidized by oceanic chemolithotrophs. Polluting oxides of nitrogen and this element produce acid rain. For 10 points, a gas containing what element makes bogs smell eggy?
Sulfur.
Yes. This symphony features parts for the on martello and piano, which were played by Yvonne Loriot at its 1949 premiere. For 10 points each. Name this 10-movement work inspired by the myth of Tristan and Isolde.
This is the Ring Symphony.
That's the Turanga-Lila Symphony. This French composer of the Turanga-Lila Symphony wrote and premiered his quartet for the end of time while interned in a Nazi POW camp.
The guy.
Answer?
That's
That's Olivier Messiaen. 2 movements of the quartet for the end of time praise the eternity and immortality of this figure. Songs addressed to this figure include the Bach chorale, Joy of Man's Desiring, and the carol Away in a Manger.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, that is correct.
Jesus Christ, it was Jesus Christ.
Indeed. Last toss-up. Description acceptable. During the English Civil War, William Dowsing was nicknamed for vigorously enforcing this policy as per a law that called out roodelofts. A decree by Yazid II may have inspired a later policy of this type, whose end in 843 CE is celebrated on the Feast of Orthodoxy. A fury of this policy took place during Germany's Bildersturm in the 16th century. One of these policies was applied to the temples of Bel and Baal Shamin in Palmyra in 2015. Emperor Leo III began a period of applying this policy in the Byzantine...
Removing icons.
Yes, okay.
Is it iconoclasty?
Yes, that's the word I wanted. Or iconoclasm, rather, but yes. That is acceptable, and your bonus. Chemists inexplicably draw vectors on these systems in the opposite direction as physicists. For 10 points each, name these physical systems. A permanent one established at a carbonyl bond is responsible for the intermolecular attractive force between 2 ketones.
Is it dipoles?
dipole.
It is. Since this is a chemistry bonus, the carbonyl dipole moment points from carbon to oxygen in the direction of increasing this quantity. Oxygen rates 3.5 on this quantity's Pauling scale.
Electronegativity.
If it reacts with this biological carbene, a carbonyl's dipole moment vector flips. Cells need the pyrophosphate form of this coenzyme, a nitrogen-sulfur ylide, to turn pyruvate into acetyl-CoA.
What is it? It's the enzyme. Ubiquitase? I don't know.
Yeah,
Answer?
case.
That's thiamine or vitamin B1. 20 on the bonus, that is the match.
Good
I have a final score of Belmont 480, Lightridge 150.
Good game.
That wasn't a. That was an unfortunate night.
Good game.
Yeah, those were unfortunate things.
That was.